We got Jimmie Rivera back here on the program. He's going to be headlining UFC Fight Night 131 on June 1st against Marlon Moraes. Jimmie, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. Same stuff, different day. You?
Absolutely. Just doing some interviews, but I'm glad to catch up with you again. And congrats on getting the main event of this fight. I think it's, long overdue, you getting a big fight like this. You've had a lot of big fights, but to headline a card is obviously a big deal.
Yeah.
But first, I kind of want to start here. Did you get to enjoy your honeymoon? I know you had a lot of stuff go on in December with that UFC 219 card. Did you get a good time after?
Yeah, we did actually. My wife and I got to go to Costa Rica to surf in town, and we just had a blast. It was such a surfing town. The only way you get around is by quads. No one drives. There was just quads all over the place, four-wheelers. So we had a blast. It was fun to get away and just relax a little bit and just again enjoy some nice weather. It was beautiful out there.
Yeah, I bet you want to go back. It's funny you say that. I went to Costa Rica for my honeymoon with my wife, and we made a plan. We have to go back in 5 years just because we had so much fun.
Where'd you stay?
So we actually didn't stay. We only stayed in a couple spots here and there, but we went around the whole island basically. We started.
Oh, that's cool.
I can't remember exactly where it was. But we rented a car. We started in one area. I think it was San Jose is where we started, and then we went around. It was awesome though. I've never been to a country like that before.
Yeah, it's really nice. People are really nice there. Really, really beautiful too.
Yeah, it was awesome. Let's talk about 219 quickly. A lot of stuff going into this. So, you're supposed to fight Dominic Cruz. He's out. Already, whoever you're going to have, it's pretty tough to match the level of Dominic Cruz. You get John Lineker. Then John Lineker's out. Marlon Moraes comes in and sort of enters the fray. And, from what I understood on social media, and I want to get clarification for you, he calls you out. He wants to fight you. Then he wants it at a catch weight. And you agree to all these things, and the fight still doesn't happen. So what happened?
No, that was it. I landed. There was a whole bunch of people who wanted to fight. I was only allowed to fight two people. It was Dotson, Marlon at 140, they told me, or Marlon on January 20th. And we weren't going to fight Dotson. He lost his last fight. Marlon beat him, so we'll fight Marlon. So we said we'll fight at 138. They said no, 140. So we said 140. They said no. Then we said 145. They said no. Then we said January 20th. They said no. So after that, we tried to figure out someone else for January 20th. It just fell through. So we said after that, all right, we're going on a honeymoon and we'll go from there. Because I didn't get, at that time, I didn't get compensated or anything for that fight. So, so they wanted to schedule something and they threw out a contract at me for end of February and had Marlon sign. I said, no, I'm not going to fight in February. I'm like, you're setting something in stone with him, but I'm not okay with it. First of all, he came on social media and said he wants to fight, and you guys gave me the options, and I said yeah, and he said no. So I'm not going to be I'm not going to go out of my way. So that's what really happened.
How much do you think was played by his manager, Ali Abdelaziz? Just because we've seen in the past that Ali has tweeted for his fighters. It seemed like there was a little bit of him in some of those tweets that were going back and forth.
It was basically him, and I know Marlon. He doesn't really trash talk. But, I'm not a big fan of his manager, obviously. And there was an incident at 219 where he disrespected, I don't care if he disrespect me, but he disrespected my wife. That's a whole different story. So he said all this stuff. And then Marlon at the press conference was trying to say something or trying to make some point of me trying to pick and choose fights. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't really get to pick and choose who I want to fight. UFC throws people's names. And then at the end of the day, my coach and my manager pick. I'm like, I'm just the one that goes in there and fights. So he started laughing. And I started laughing about it. But he started complaining about the fight. I said, you have the fight June 1st. What is there to complain about? What is there to say? I'm like, I just basically shut him down. He's not all that bright. He's not all that bright. He's, English is his second language. You don't understand him. He's saying stuff. Even on the face-off, he was saying stuff. I can't understand him. He's mumbling. I think at the end of the day, he can't talk smack. He's not the brightest. I think he's a tough fighter, but that's it.
One question I had, John Lineker's fighting Brian Kelleher on the Brazil card. Was that ever an option to get to rebook against Lineker at all? Because I figured that at the time seemed
not an option.
No,
we told him actually that we'll wait for Cruz to get better, and then they came back with a new contract. And that's when my manager was, willing to negotiate and get a better deal, and that's why we fought the Lineker fight. Otherwise, we would have waited for Cruz or the next best fight. And that was the funny thing. He brought up something too, because I just saw something the other night, at the replay of the conference. We had press conference. He was, telling about picking and choosing fights, and I'm like, if I'm gonna fight someone and say yes to anybody, it's gonna be someone in front of me, like a Sansals, Cody, Cruz. TJ. You know what I mean? I fought backwards with Almeida in rankings. I want to keep fighting forwards to get a title shot. So doesn't that make sense? Like, all right, so I was 4 or 5 at the time. I fought Almeida, who was 9 or 10. Beat him. Now it's time to fight 3, 2, 1, and the champ. So I mean, it makes sense in my head. It makes sense of someone that doesn't know, MMA that well. Well, those are the rankings. Should he fight ahead since he's won his last 5 fights? I can understand if I lost my last fight, then I should fight behind me, or you know what I mean, and work my way back up. But that wasn't the case.
So how do you feel like you match up against Marlon in this fight? He's had a pretty good career so far in the UFC since he started. What's sort of your thoughts on the matchup?
I just, he's a Muay Thai guy, and I'm better all around. And I think, like I said, he's tough, but I'm just a better fighter. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, I think he had an okay career, actually, in the UFC. He came in and lost to Sansao. He had a questionable win against Dawson, and he had a lucky knockout against Sterling, which he even admits, he was going for the round kick, and Sterling put his head down, and he got caught with a knee kick. Well, he got in caught with a knee kick. He was throwing a round kick, and the knee came, and he got caught.
Training camp, has it been just business as usual at Tiger Schulman's, training with all the great guys over there?
Yeah. Just been training. I actually had a chance to train with one of the guys from K Dojo, Alex. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not really good at pronouncing, so I'm not even going to try. But he's really good, and he can emulate Marlon, and I have a couple other guys that can do that too as well. And just been getting ready for the fight. You know what I mean? Since I got back from the honeymoon, I started training and getting in fight shape.
Alex, that's not the Russian guy, is it?
Yeah.
It is? Okay. Interesting connection
Alexander.
here. Yeah. Okay. So you know what's so interesting? There's a guy that trains here in Toronto, Vladimir Kazbekov. He won the Maverick MMA title a couple weeks ago, and he trains with Alex, and he's been raving about him. You know Vlad as well too?
Yeah, the big dude, right?
No, he's a bantamweight as well. He's a small guy, but
okay.
But he was, the reason I bring it up is because he was raving about Alex. He says this is a guy who should be in the UFC. So when you said the name, I made the connection because Vlad goes down to New Jersey and trains there.
He's a tough guy. He definitely should be in there. He make 135 or 125, and he's just waiting for the call there. I know they're trying to set something up for Contender Series, and I think he's going to do really well. And I think that might be the first half of Contender Series. And I told his coach, if they're looking for someone last minute, I'll always throw his name, and I don't mind. We the same thing was the Brooklyn card. Someone at 145 popped out, and we said Julio could jump right in, but the commission wouldn't let it. So
they're pretty strict.
The UFC will do it, but the commission sometimes won't let in. Just the way it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Weight cut, is that process started already as far as getting down to 135?
Yeah, I just eat healthy. You know what I mean? I just diet, eat healthy, and get down there. The weight cut obviously is never the funnest because, you got to lose, 5-6 pounds or so. Cut it in the sauna or salt bath. That always sucks. But, it's part of the game. That's it.
How do you see this fight unfolding, and do you think a finish will ensure a title shot? Because I would imagine now, you're right up there, and there's that other big fight, obviously, between Sunsao and Rob Font. Like, is there sort of more pressure to get the finish in this one?
I think a finish will help me a lot more, but at the end of the day, getting my hand raised, it's 6 fights in a row in the UFC. That should get me a title fight, no questions asked. I'm not really worried about the Rob Font and the Sunsao fight. You know what I mean? If a Sunsao wins, it's his 4th fight, and it's my 6th fight. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any comparison. You kind of got to see what happens. Plus you have a Sansao fight, and they're not main, not main event or co-main event of the fight or a fight night or a UFC pay-per-view. They're just fighting. And I think that really has to come down to Sansao wants to fight, and there's no one else to fight because everybody's booked.
If you go out here, you win this fight. Is it either a title shot or Dominic Cruz? Is that pretty much it after that? Is that sort of at the top of your list?
I think at the end, getting this win, it's a title shot. You know what I mean? I don't see it playing any other way. But again, I'm not the UFC. I'm not sure what they're going to pick or what they're going to say. So I'm just gonna. I believe it's a title shot, getting the win. I want to try to obviously secure it by getting the finish, but I tried to put Almeida away, and he was tough. So you kind of got to go with it and see what happens that night.
And we've seen a lot of people, make the comparisons of pro wrestling in MMA. And I know you're not really that type of guy, making a lot of noise or whatever. But would pro wrestling ever interest you after your career's over? We've seen, Ronda Rousey make that transition.
Fuck
and
that.
No, you never do it.
Nah, I'm not gonna. First of all, get on the mic. I'm not like that. Second of all those all right, I know they set everything up and there's a storyline and do all that stuff, but the falls are real. So fuck the falls. I don't need to fall on my back 20 million times and fuck up my back. I want to fight next couple of years or so, or whatever it is, 5 years, etc., and then retire and then relax and focus on my school.
I like that. But did you ever watch pro wrestling growing up at all?
Yeah, I did. Big
Okay.
fan of
Who's
The
your
Rock.
guy? Who'd you like watching, or girl? I should say. It shouldn't be exclusive. But who did you like
Um,
watching?
can we do top five?
Yeah, sure.
Top,
Yeah, go for it.
top five is obviously The Rock was number one, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind. I did like what's his name? Why can't think of the Undertaker. There were some people I liked and they were interesting. Their catchphrases. I mean, my favorite of all times is The Rock and then Stone Cold. So I'm gonna go with that. Mankind was goofy, but he was tough as hell and he was crazy. But I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, those are my top four. There you go.
Good stuff. Well, Jimmie, it's always good talking to you. And again, congrats on getting a main event fight here. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media. And if you got any sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, man. They can get a hold of me at excuse me, sorry, I almost forgot. At Jimmie Rivera 135 on Twitter, or just Jimmie Rivera on Instagram. Sponsor, I got a shit ton of sponsors. I want to thank you, Eat Clean Bro, ProVeer, who take care of my physical therapy, my chiropractor, Pete Berger, Tiger Fight Gear, NutriBio supplements. Man, there's nonstop. Essentia water. I always thought they were essential, but there's no L there. Did you ever have that water before?
I haven't. Up in Canada, we're a little bit sheltered, I think. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, every time, yeah, them. Everybody, you know what I mean? I really appreciate those guys. I mean, I have a lot of sponsors going on for this fight, and it's really cool to have all that support.